Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I'm going to give you the updates on the Nancy Guthrie case, the case that we are all interested in at the moment. It's difficult not to be interested in it. It's hard to talk about anything else. Sorry, I'm just trying to sort my camera out. It's just we just all want to Nancy to be found safely, or some resolution to this case. So I've got a few things that I want to talk about in this video about this case. We've got a new video from Savannah, from her daughter who's a journalist, a famous journalist in America. We've got a new appeal video from her. Do you think there's anything significant in the fact that the last two appeal videos have just been Savannah speaking? No sign of the other siblings in the last couple of appeal videos. Could be that they're too upset. Savannah looks exhausted, tearful, just at she must be at the end of her tether, as must all the family be, because doesn't really feel like anything's getting anywhere, does it? Just awful situation, isn't it? Anyway, so yeah, don't forget to let me know during this video or afterwards in comments, what do you think happened to Nancy? Okay, so first of all, just a quick thank you to everyone. I really appreciate you watching my channel, liking, subscribing. That's free to like the video or subscribe to the channel. Thank you to my members. Thank you to those of you who've bought me Ko-fis or sent super stickers. And in whatever way you've contributed to my channel, thank you so much. Okay, let's get into this. I've got quite a few things to talk about, and we're going to have a look at a couple of videos. I hope they'll play properly. By the end of the week, I should have something sorted with this computer, but as you know, I'm working with a terrible computer at the moment. Anyway, first thing I just want to address is, all the chaos last Friday night when the SWAT teams went in and people were detained. Nobody's been arrested. Nobody's been arrested as far as I know. People were detained, weren't they, and questioned, and car apparently was seized. But there was a lot of confusion on Friday night, and there was a lot of talk about somebody who had fled the scene and was found to have died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And this was reported at the time. Of course, it was reported, and then the social media took it up. People took it up because that's what people were saying. And then, gosh, I don't even know where to start with this story. Anyway, it turns out that is not true, that somebody did not flee the scene, and there was not somebody found who, they may have fled the scene, but certainly they were not found having unalived themselves. And of course, a lot of podcasters are getting the blame for this, but it wasn't podcasters who put out that information. It was a legitimate, if you can call it that, mainstream news channel from the local area who have now taken it down. And now but of course, people had screenshot it, so it still exists. The news post, they can't hide the fact that they released it first, and then the podcasters ran with it. Of course they did. I mean, it was a big thing. Then something else sort of unconnected that happened is one podcaster that was there at the scene, Dolly Vision, I think his name is not someone I watch very often, but I have watched him to do with Sebastian Rogers' case long ago. They apparently came upon a scene from, a true hit and run accident where somebody actually was deceased. And they thought it was connected to that, with this news report of somebody unaliving themselves. And so that gave even more sort of strength, if you like, to the theory. Hi, Julie. Just talking about this absolute shit show of an investigation into Nancy Guthrie. So anyway, so this is what's been said now. Nobody unalived themselves at the scene or fled or, and don't forget, because we haven't had any press conferences from good old Sheriff Nanos, Deputy Dog, we don't, we're left to sort of find out for ourselves. Anyway, and then, of course, we're going to get the blame for being too nosy about it or making things up or whatever, but nobody's releasing any official information. Again, so it's been nearly 2 weeks now since there's been since there's been a press conference. Anyway, and I just wanted to point out that some Republican politician from that area, Alma Hernandez, and let me just say that in her bio, she describes herself as a proud Zionist, unapologetic. So sorry, straight away, I don't like her. But anyway, she put out a tweet saying, let's be clear, the circus of so-called journalists flooding into our city right now is not helpful, and they know it. Nothing about what they're doing is assisting the Guthrie family. I can guarantee you the family is not asking these individuals to take matters into their own hands, speculate publicly, or turn this into online entertainment. What they are asking for is simple: send in legitimate tips, that's it. Well, I'm not quite sure what she's doing in this tweet except speculating. So she says, we have people who have never stepped foot in our area asking strangers online to verify street names, saying Marana is in Tucson and Rio Rico is the south side. We have unrelated videos of random individuals being posted, businesses being put out there, and home addresses of real people with no way of knowing they are being blamed online and pushed as national lies just to generate headlines. That is not journalism. So then she says, real journalists verify before they publish. So you can imagine that once she's come out and said that, a lot of people online who are social media podcasters have, sent her this press release that was given by a mainstream media outlet from the local area, saying that man had taken his own life. That's where the story came from. That's where the story came from. Big thanks to the real news outlets, she says, and our local reporters who know better and are doing great. We see and appreciate you. So people have gone on and said, let's be clear, November is coming. Your constituents are on comment threads with your performance review and the clown you call the sheriff. I'm bookmarking this and placing bets if you still have a job after the November elections. And then someone has posted the actual, news report that came from News 4 Tucson, which I presume you can't get much more local than that. And it was them who said that according to an unconfirmed report by a neighbour, another person shot himself in the head. That's where that story came from. It didn't come from JLR. It didn't come from Brian Entin. Didn't come from Dolly Vision or any of the other social media people that are there. That story came from News 4 Tucson, and that has now been taken down, removed as if it was never there. But people, people had screenshot it. So there you go. You can't stop people screenshotting things. But, they think they can just take it away and then blame all these social media people. And I'm not, I don't believe in giving false information, But at the end of the day, that was a mainstream media, local news station that gave that news, not any of the podcasters that were there. The thing is, podcasters normally report on things that they read in mainstream media. That's the way it is, because they don't get the insight into things. They get tips from sources and stuff like that, but they don't get the, it's the mainstream media. They're the ones that are supposed to verify things, and then, I always try and follow legitimate sources, but sometimes even the legitimate sources aren't legitimate. Nobody gets is less legitimate than this bloody useless sheriff who's there dealing with this. Anyway, I just wanted to say that some people have commented about it. That story did not come from any podcaster, social media outlet. That story of somebody taking their own life came from a local mainstream media news source. So that's first thing I just want to say, just to clear up. So let's have a look. So Savannah, she's released a new video. So don't forget, Savannah is Nancy's daughter. And she's the one, she's the famous daughter, if you like. She's on the TV. She's almost a household name in America. Find what I've done with it. And she has released a short video saying we still have hope. We believe in the basic goodness of people. As she looks, when I will find it. Here it is. I hope it shares okay, and I hope you can hear it okay. But anyway, let's share it and see how we go. Sometimes we have a few issues. Yeah, exactly, Julie. We just, all this is not helpful. She says that I think the podcasters have been more helpful. At least we're getting more information, more insight from them. If the sheriff wasn't so incompetent, we wouldn't have to rely on what the podcasters say, would we? He's saying nothing except to big himself up. What has he said that has helped in the case or done? He's not even doing press conferences. Anyway. So these are the people that matter. Nancy, Savannah, and the rest of the family. They're the people that matter in this. This is frustrating for us. God knows how it is for them. It's not, we don't have a personal involvement in it. Now, you'll have to let me know if you can hear this or not. Sometimes I have an issue with sound when I'm trying to play a video. So I don't know about you, but the first thing that struck me is Savannah's eyes. She looks like she's been crying a lot, bless her. She must be absolutely just exhausted with it all.
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late.
Never too late.
And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
So I'm presuming you can hear that. Nobody's saying they can't hear it, but nobody's saying they can hear it. If you're out there listening, just put a thumbs up or something if you can hear it. But I'll just say what she said, just in case you couldn't hear it. And if you couldn't hear it, I'll try to get it back up again. So she's saying we believe in the basic goodness of human beings. It's never too late to do the right thing. We are here. I think you can tell clearly from her eyes. She looks like she, as I'm sure is true, she's had quite a few sleepless nights. Just looks so upset. My heart just breaks for her. But do you think it's significant that she's doing these appeals on her own now, or is it at the end of the day they don't live near each other, do they, or are they all together? I don't know if they're all together at the moment, but the last couple of appeals have been done by just Savannah. I don't know if that's significant.
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is, that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
So, did you hear as well when she said, you're not lost or alone? Do you think that was to her mum, more of a message to her mum than to the kidnapper or whoever it is? She said, you're not lost and alone. We still have hope. We believe in the basic goodness of the human condition. Hi, Snoopy. Thanks for letting me know you can hear it. I'm going to play it one more time because it's very short and just so that we can. But yeah, so sad. And her face, to me, she just looks. Her eyes just look absolutely devastated. But
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is, that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone.
I wonder if that's for her mum.
And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
Okay, so that's Savannah's latest appeal. It's not exactly appeal, is it? It's trying to address whoever has got her mum and appeal to their better nature. You know, we have to hope that whoever did take Nancy, you know, they have got maybe it was a mistake, like, a burglary gone wrong. As some mainstream news are reporting that it's thought to have been a burglary gone wrong, and then other mainstream media are reporting completely the opposite. So pay your money, take your choice. You can't depend on the mainstream media, despite what the proud Zionist Republican person said. Okay, a couple of things I want to say before we look at this. I'm glad that worked, the sound worked, because we're going to look at another video, an interview that Brian Entin did with with a sergeant from the actual police department. And this sergeant, apparently, he can talk openly, whereas most of them can't, because he is a union rep. He's the union rep. That gives him some protection to speak in the public interest or something. He's very anti-sheriff. And now, quite often, union reps are anti whoever the boss is, aren't they? But I think after I've listened to his interview, I know who I believe. Because the thing is, if Sheriff Nanos had been good in other ways, if he'd been dealing with the investigation well and just generally not being the clown that he's been since day one, I would take what the sergeant says with not exactly with a pinch of salt, but everyone's got, you could think, well, is there a personal grudge between this sergeant and the sheriff? It seems that there is. So this sergeant, you'll see, takes a very dim view of Sheriff Nanos. But you know what? That's how we felt about him before. It isn't this sergeant that's made us feel like that about him. It's just what this sergeant says just confirms, what we think about him. He says that he's ego-driven. He says that he's, retaliatory. So if anybody goes against him, he punishes them by transferring them out of the department away from, so they're not working locally anymore. This guy, he claims, he's got, I think, 20 odd years service. He claims that because he's been anti-Nanos for ages, before this case. So what I'm trying to say is, he's not saying that the problems have occurred from this case, that there's been problems in this department for years, and especially with the election he won the election with less than 500 votes, so there had to be a recount. So he narrowly won the election to be sheriff. Now, what he says is there's not enough experience in the department. People have been transferred out. There's new detectives in there, and they just haven't got the experience. He himself, we're going to watch him say it from his own mouth in a moment. He himself says he has been put on, he was transferred because he was sort of, speaking up against Sheriff Nanos. He's still in the department, but he was taken off the shift he was on, and he's been put on an office job. He says he's been given an office job that is normally given, when if sheriff's deputies are injured, for example, but they want to go back to work, but they can't do what they were doing before because physical reasons. They get put on desk jobs, phoning up if someone says if someone phones up sort of thing, your routine things. And he's been put on that, he says. Now, we always have to remember, he's saying what I think it's clear from the interview, there's not love lost between him and Sheriff Nanos. So, we don't know if what he's saying is true or if it's just him saying it because he's got a grudge against Sheriff Nanos. We always have to keep that in mind, I think. But you'll decide what you think when we look at the interview. So another thing I want to say. So there is some positive news. Is the FBI have released a statement saying that one of the black gloves that were found. So apparently there's been 16 black gloves found, and the FBI themselves has admitted that some of them were probably discarded by searchers. So the FBI are out there searching and discarding black gloves all over the place. apart from the fact that's environmentally wrong, what they're doing that for? So of course then the public are finding these gloves and oh, we found a black glove. I was watching JLR yesterday. Somebody had phoned up and reported they'd found a black glove. The police didn't even turn up. It's like, because there's just too many black gloves. Sometimes you do think, God, what universe am I living in here? Which parallel universe am I living in? So you're going around searching and you're discarding black gloves, or apparently they put them in their back pockets and they fall out. So that just gives even more work, doesn't it? Because then the public are ringing up and saying, oh, we found a black glove, and then that glove has to be bagged up, taken off, tested for DNA. Just so unnecessary. Apart from the fact you shouldn't go, leaving plastic things lying around. Apart from that, just simple, you shouldn't be doing that for the environment. Anyway, so this is what the FBI have said, but they did say that one glove they think has come from, I don't know why they think, but one glove that's been found, that's been sent off, put in the DNA has been put in the CODIS database, because there is one of those gloves that they feel is connected to the case. They haven't said why they think it is or anything like that, but anyway, so that's positive. So there's they have got DNA apparently, haven't they, from the home that's not connected with Nancy or anybody that knew her. So DNA is always a game changer, isn't it? So if they've got DNA to work with, you hope that there will be some development, hopefully not another couple of SWAT teams going out and detaining somebody else who's got absolutely nothing to do with it. Not that we know that these people have got nothing to do with it. Could be they're just waiting for the DNA to come back. But no arrests have been made, have there? So two addresses have been swooped on by the SWAT teams, and people have been detained, but nobody's been charged. Nobody's been arrested or charged. So we, as far as we know, it's not them, but could be something to do with them, but they just haven't got enough, until the DNA comes back. But ultimately, in the centre of it all is Nancy. Where is Nancy? Where is she? Bodies are not easy to hide, but some people manage it successfully. So the other thing I just want to talk about before we look at this interview with the sergeant is this signal sniffer, or whatever it's called. So yeah, it's been confirmed that the FBI took this signal that apparently can detect pacemakers and things like that, and they sort of went around in the helicopter with it. But apparently, I was reading Steve Fisher was saying he doesn't know of anybody who's been found using one of them, even though they're a useful tool, because you have to be so close. So if let's suppose Nancy was underground, that would be difficult for it to pick up the signal. But anyway, it's something that's apparently is an FBI tool. I still don't understand where's the dogs? Where's the dogs? Where's the horseback searches? Where's the dogs that can detect sort of electronic devices? Couldn't they detect a pacemaker? Or where's the cadaver dogs, just in case Nancy is roundabout and she is sadly deceased? Just, are they relying on catching the perpetrator to find Nancy? Is Nancy still alive? There is an outside chance, isn't there, that she is still alive? I certainly hope so. And Savannah's video there, just she's got basic human condition and blah blah blah. She's got to hold on to her because that's all she's got, isn't it? Sadly, Right. So I just want to show you, actually, if I can find it, a video that this guy, I follow him on X Nerdy Addict. He puts interesting things up, and he's like everybody. The Nancy Guthrie case is just everywhere. But he put this video up, which I thought was quite funny. Welcome to Tucson. I know you laugh. It's a city. But look, this is like the FBI going.
Welcome
The
to
FBI
Tucson!
going around just throwing black gloves everywhere.
Welcome to
I
Tucson!
mean, come on, goes back to this Keystone Cop thing. 16 black gloves have been found, and only one is thought to be linked to the case. But the FBI themselves have admitted that they're bloody agents when they were searching. Discarded black gloves. God's sake. What's wrong with them? Oh my God. It's so, you know.
Welcome to Tucson!
Yeah, black gloves everywhere. Yeah, so it's not funny, but you know what? If you didn't laugh, you would definitely cry. So let's find Brian Entin. So the interview with the sheriff. Yeah, I'm going to actually put that one down. Just put a couple of windows down. So Brian Entin, who's another good social media reporter, he was the one that was actually at the address when the SWAT team were there. In fact, he was inside the perimeter because he got a tip from someone, and he was the only social media person that got this tip. And he was inside the perimeter for quite a while. So if you don't know Brian Entin, he's definitely worth following, subscribing. He's a good what's the word I'm looking for? He goes to the scene of things. He gets good insight. He has good interviews. I enjoy his interviews with people. He always seems to get an interview with someone, like with this sheriff. He's the one who's got this interview with the sheriff. Just let me put it on screen, make sure it's sharing. Right, it's sharing. Oh, are we going to get sound again? That'd be twice in one day. That'd be good. So let me just go back to the start of this interview. That was a genealogist he was interviewing, but really it's this interview that I want to watch.
Sheriff who are still working there, but he can talk about concerns that the deputies have about the sheriff, about the way the investigation has been handled, and why he thinks the FBI should have been brought in sooner. So listen to my conversation with Sergeant Cross. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was just this new FBI statement that I showed you. First of all, apparently there's a lot of gloves that have been found.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? I mean, I guess these gloves are used for all sorts of purposes, it seems.
It is pretty common. It could be from investigators. It could also be, we have a large amount of homeless that live and camp in the area. We also have, we've experienced a lot of nighttime car break-ins in this area as well. So, it could be from any one of those things. Hopefully it's related to the Guthrie kidnapping, and they're able to get some case open. But I understand it was found a couple miles away. As he's driving away, he's out the break, but there's a lot of possibility.
I mean, if you're the suspect,
yeah,
why wouldn't you bury them or hold on to them?
Yeah, it seems very unusual, and so it would seem very out of character for what we're able to see. But hopefully we'll get lucky.
And you are a sergeant with the Pima County Sheriff's Office and
Yes,
also
sir.
the union president.
Yes, sir.
So you're able to talk to us about some of these issues with the department because you're protected.
Correct.
By which is why we haven't really been able to talk to anyone else within the...
Yeah, I can speak on matters of public concern
and
have some protections from that.
Do you ever get nervous about retaliation?
All the time. I'm sure I'll be drugged in to answer questions about this very interview.
Okay. So, what is since you have your pulse, I mean, how many deputies did you say are in your union?
So we have a little over 300 out of the about 396 detectives and deputies in the department.
So almost everybody.
Yes, sir.
So what is the feeling right now within the department? I mean, you guys have the eyes of the world on you.
Yeah, it's tough. The deputies, they haven't been impacted as much. The detectives, though, they're working, I mean, some of them are working 8 days straight. Some of them have put in 70, 80-hour weeks for the last couple of weeks. So they're doing everything possible to try and solve this crime. They're working very hard, sacrificing a lot of time with their families, and they're doing everything they can. But it's definitely taking a toll a little bit. You can tell an 8-hour week, 70 hours a week. That's a tall order.
And a lot of pressure. I mean, everybody wants to find Nancy, you know?
Certainly, yeah. The whole, it feels like the whole world, or at least the nation, that their eyes are on us. And so there's a lot of pressure internally as well as externally to try and solve this quickly.
Is it true, and I've just heard this from some people around the sheriff's office, that the homicide team is pretty inexperienced right now?
They're pretty new, and that goes for really all the departments. So we have 96 detectives. 45 of them are detective ones, meaning they're pretty new. Inside the unit, I think the person that has the most experience inside that unit has 3 years in homicide, and then.
So that's interesting, isn't it? So out of all the detectives that are in the unit, the longest serving one is 3 years or 2 years? They're quite new. And now suddenly they've been given this, this case has happened in their jurisdiction. It's a massive case as well. I'm really surprised that he hasn't sort of, gladly taken the FBI's help, because that would, at the end of the day, the sheriff, the actual sheriff, this Nanos guy, it is kudos for him if this case is solved, but it doesn't matter if he invites the FBI to help him solve it. He should be out there providing a steady hand, letting the FBI help, because they have more resources. That's not a weakness in the sheriff's department. That's just how it is. Any sheriff surely would welcome the help that the FBI could give, because they're stretched, because not only they're dealing with Nancy's case, which is this massive case, but, as he says shortly, normal crime is not taking a break. So all the normal crimes that they have to deal with day in, day out, the criminals aren't going, oh, let's not do any crimes because let's let them find Nancy Guthrie first. In fact, if anything, the criminals are thinking, oh, God, the police are, diverted with this Nancy Guthrie case. This is the ideal opportunity for us to go and commit crime with impunity, because all the police are obsessed with the Nancy Guthrie case. So, surely I just don't understand his reluctance to involve the FBI, and not only not involve them, but he's cutting them out of things. He's deliberately not giving them information. He's an absolute idiot, this guy. Not this guy, the sheriff, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Some of them are more experienced detectives. They just haven't been in homicide. So there's been a lot of turnover. Another example is that our deputies, we have 195 deputies in patrol, 101 are on probation, meaning they have less than a year. We've experienced several waves of exodus of deputies going to other agencies or retiring early to go work somewhere else. So we're feeling the consequences of that, both on the detective side and in patrol.
Yeah, that's kind of alarming when you think about a case this complicated.
Very.
And we know the sheriff's office is still technically in charge. And you'd think there'd be people with decades experience.
Yes, and if this hand years ago, we would have a lot more experience to handle it. However, like I said, we only have detectives compared to something like the FBI. They could bring thousands of investigators that they could pull from across the country. So we're a medium-sized department, and of course there are limitations that come with that.
Have there been frustrations on the inside about the way this has been handled?
A little bit. They vocalized some of that to me. It is just some of the decision making from them look incompetent. A lot of those decisions were theirs, and so I agree with one of Sheriff Nanos's versions was that we gave up the scene probably a little too early, and perhaps we could have kept that locked down. Maybe with permission of the family, could have put up crime scene tape after the search warrant was concluded. Just with the understanding, hey, we're probably going to have to come back out here. Is it okay if we keep people out and people away? Just to.
Now we've seen that happen before. I think this is the crucial mistake that has just started this investigation off on the wrong foot as far as the public are concerned. Is that they're not securing the crime scene for long enough. You know, they secured the crime scene, and then they just took away the crime scene tape, and all the podcasters were in there taking, and it was Brian Entin who took the video of the blood droplets at the door, and it looked quite dramatic, that, didn't it? And it's like, and Sheriff Nanos, he couldn't say that he didn't think it was a crime at first. He said from day one it was a crime. They were treating it as a crime because of what they'd found inside there. And, you know, so we've seen this happen before with cases. I think that was a big problem in the Nicola Bully case. You know, although, you know, eventually it was found to be an accident. To me, you treat something as a crime until you know it isn't, rather than treating it as not a crime until you know it is. Because once you've not secured a crime scene, and, you know, so all those reports have been all over Nancy's house, the outside of it, of course. You know, you've got to eliminate all them then when you're looking for footprints and DNA and this, that, and the other. And the same with Nicola Bully. You know, they never cordoned off the area, and before you knew it, all those it's not only social media, the mainstream media are all over it as well. So people are all over it, and then they went back and secured it, and now they've got a deputy outside and this, that, and the other. But it's sort of too late, isn't it? It was a crazy decision, and he was defending his decision that he hasn't actually even been to the scene because it's not his role. You know, he was saying that in that interview today. I just don't know what this guy's role is. You know, he hasn't reassured anybody. It seems like his own sheriff deputies don't like him. What is his role? What is he succeeding in? Is he just trying to get the glory of trying to solve this case? But his way of doing that is cutting out the FBI. Why would you do that? Why not? Well, we know why. Because he hates the FBI. Because a few years ago, the FBI investigated him for misappropriation of funds. And although he was exonerated, I feel like he's just never got over that. You know, it's like he's slighted because why did they investigate him? To me, I think, well, there's a reason why they investigated him. They couldn't find anything, to be fair. I've got to be fair to him like that. He was exonerated. He was not prosecuted. But, you know, do the FBI just go looking for sheriffs to investigate? I doubt it. But, you know, so there's bad blood there. One way or another, there's bad blood between him and the FBI. And according to this guy, and you'll hear him say, this sheriff is very vindictive, very retaliatory. You know, if you cross him in any way, you've got to watch out because he will do what he can to make your life difficult. So it just makes you wonder, is this what's the crux of it all? This bad blood between him and the FBI because he's never got over the fact they investigated him. But the thing is, if you're innocent, then you just, oh yeah, come and look at the books. I don't mind, you know, and, you know, you could turn that to your advantage. But he's just, I wonder if he's a Scorpio. He's got a sting in his tail.
Just to maintain that crime scene as pristine as possible.
What about this relationship with the FBI? Because we've heard from FBI sources that it hasn't been good. You know, I even heard a couple nights ago there was some critical information that wasn't shared with Ebola that they just didn't tell the FBI about.
Yeah.
And then this whole issue lab. Yeah. It's going to Florida, and some of this stuff going to Quantico.
Yeah.
Where does that stem from?
So my opinion is that this comes from 2016. I think when Sheriff Nanos was investigated, when he was interim sheriff back then, I think that investigation caused a lot of the icy relationship that we see today. He holds grudges, and took that as a shot, and I think that he hasn't forgotten it, and I think that's driving some of the decision making that's going on right now.
Do you think the relationship is getting better at all, though? Because when we went out to the search warrant, I guess that was on Friday night. You know, the FBI was there for that. Yeah. It was and it was your SWAT team, but then it was an FBI search warrant, federal warrant. I mean, do you think they're trying to mend that, or what's your sense?
It's to be pressure for him to do so, but I think it's become an ego case for him, that this is our chance to one up the FBI, or to show that we're as good as the FBI, and I'm not sure that should be driving the decision making. We have very capable, hardworking detectives. However, it's like I said before, we're a medium-sized agency. We just simply don't have the manpower, the assets.
Now, I just want to say again, because it's important to remember, this man clearly does not like Sheriff Nanos. So we have to take that into account. You know, he's saying that Sheriff Nanos is vindictive, or this, that, or the other. But, you know, he doesn't like him either. There's no love lost between these two people. So we have to take what he says at that face value, that this is, you know, if somebody doesn't like you, they're not going to say good things about you, are they? You know, you could go out and talk to somebody about me, and if it's somebody who likes me, they're going to say I'm lovely and I'm this and I'm that and all good things. But if they go and talk to somebody who maybe we've had a clash at some point, or there's some reason why they don't like me, they're going to say all bad things about me. So, you know, that is the way. So we've got to always bear that in mind. Just because he's saying it does not mean it's 100% true. So, you know, it'd be nice, maybe someone will come out saying good things about Sheriff Nanos.
That's the funding. That's something like the FBI could bring to bear.
What happened with that? I've heard some rumblings about the search plane and the pilot, I think, or do you know much about that situation?
Yes, sir. It was a pilot / TFD, a tactical flight deputy. So our plane has two people in it. It's the pilot and the person behind him who was operating the high definition cameras, the FLIR, all that. And so there was a pilot / TFD who was normally assigned to work that day with a pilot. However, he was transferred the week before, I believe on January 25th. And he was transferred back to patrol, and as a result of that, he was not replaced. And so as a result of that, the plane was not able to be used immediately. From what I understand from people who worked that day, the helicopter was initially used because there was a pilot at the hangar and a helicopter pilot, so they jumped in the helicopter and responded. And that has some benefit. When you fly a helicopter around a missing person, oftentimes people, they go out of their house to go, what's going on? Why is their helicopter flying so low around the neighborhood? And so when you get people out of their houses, sometimes they'll see a disoriented elderly person or someone in need, a small child, and they'll call 911. However, eventually they called the TFD out that day, and then they flew back to the hangar, I understand, and then got the plane out of the hangar and got it overhead. But that took 2 or 3 hours from what I understand.
So did the sheriff have an issue? You said the person was transferred out.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why? There's
a minor demeanor complaints with the pilot. I think he'd been around 17 years, and there's some demeanor complaints in behavior with his interactions with some other people inside the unit that, in my opinion, could have been handled a little differently. He received informal discipline and then was transferred. I think that informal discipline and perhaps a special observation probation would have been more appropriate and would have kept that asset, which is that plane is the most valuable law enforcement asset in southern Arizona. And if it moved to Phoenix, it would be the most valuable asset in Phoenix. It's that good.
Yeah, I've seen it. It has the monitors in the back.
It's fantastic.
It's impressive. I saw some pictures
of it.
Yeah.
And agencies, whenever it's built. And so I feel like handling that a little bit differently.
You just get the feeling here that so they've got some brilliant equipment, and according to what he said, but then that pilot, according to him, was transferred out. But of course, then he says that there were some misdemeanors. I mean, maybe he had to, I don't know exactly what he did, but if he did something, maybe he had to be transferred out. But you just, I don't know, you just get the feeling in this most sort of, I don't know, how big would you consider the sheriff's department in comparison to other sheriff's department? Is it just a small one? Are they just out of their depth? That's how it feels to me, is completely out of his depth with a great big case like this. And that's why he should be accepting any help the FBI can give him. Like he said earlier, you're going from you've got 90 detectives, I think he said they had, didn't they? Which is, it feels like a lot, but it's not really, is it? But then the FBI could provide thousands more. Why not accept help from the FBI? If you want to, there's a woman's life at stake here. This is an 84-year-old vulnerable woman. It's not to do with egos or whether you've fallen out with the FBI or what, blah, de, blah, de, blah. It's to do with Nancy's life and her family getting some resolution.
Would have kept that plane ready and addressed the problem with the employee, but that decision was made differently.
So that deputy is a deputy, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he had 17 years of experience
flying
with that kind of work.
Yes, sir.
And he hasn't been able to work this case?
Correct. And he started as a TFD that we then made into a pilot. So he had 17 years in the air unit, I should clarify. Okay. But he'd been a long-time pilot, was a long-time TFD, and was very good at his job.
So he could be helpful right now?
Yes. That day, they would have been up quickly, and perhaps the searchers, because when this first came out, we initially walked away. And so having that plane up with its capabilities would have allowed the search and rescue team to, in my opinion, more quickly realize that she's not in the area, and maybe we need to start looking somewhere else and thinking about this differently, especially considering the blood drops.
Tell me a little bit I read about a no confidence vote for the sheriff.
Yes,
when?
For early 2020, I believe. And we took an anonymous no confidence vote, and it returned.
Yeah, important this, I think, in 2024, they took a confidence vote in the sheriff. How is he even still sheriff? I don't know.
Earned, except for one vote, it was unanimous no confidence in Sheriff Nanos. And that was done to kind of try and get the word out to the public, to the voting public in Pima County, that we've got some real issues in this department.
And that's yeah. I mean, so everyone except for one person in the union said no confidence.
Yes, sir. And my opinion is he probably didn't understand the vote and maybe made a mistake.
So, what are the? I mean, so why does it seem? So why don't they like him?
Well, I think former Chief Deputy Castigar kind of gave you some insight into the issues going on with Sheriff Nanos. He has an ego that's difficult to describe without sounding hyperbolic, and it drives a lot of his decision making. He's very retaliatory. Their favorite version of retaliation is through transfers, which has impacted nearly every unit in this department and decreased our overall readiness, in my opinion. Nearly every unit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using transfers to get back at people, I mean, it's the thing is, if you're, I don't know, a manager or a supervisor in any walk of life, sometimes when you take over from somebody else who was very popular with the staff, this happened to me in betting shops years ago, taking over a betting shop where the manager had been sacked because they were, doing all sorts of things, things that they shouldn't have been doing. So I took over the shop. I didn't know this manager. I was put into this shop, but the staff that were working there, they were working there when the other person was working there as well. And straight away they didn't like me because I was doing everything by the book. Because the thing is, what this other manager had been doing is he'd been doing things he shouldn't have done, like giving away. I mean, it's, unless you know about betting and things, maybe you won't know what I mean, but he'd been giving, like, say a horse it'd come to 10-1, but before it had been 20-1. He was giving the 20-1 price to people, instead of, they was falsifying the records, and he was doing all sorts of things. That's why he got sacked. So I don't want to get sacked. So I'm in there and I'm saying to people, look, you've got to do things right. If somebody asks for a price on a horse, you give them the price it is at that moment, not what it was 10 minutes ago. You can't do it, because then it's recorded, it's put through a camera. They they don't check every single bet that goes through, but they do like spasmodic checks. And one comes up and say, oh, hang on a minute, someone's given this price here. And as you're the manager, you're the one who takes the responsibility. So what I'm trying to say is these people that were already working there, or a couple of them anyway, didn't like me at all. And, made it clear, let's say. So, they ended up, I don't think they ended up leaving. I didn't sack them. I wouldn't have the power to sack someone, but either leaving or going to other shops. And then you get your own staff in, don't you, that are supportive of you. And that's how it sort of works. And it's a relief when those people go. And this could be something that's Sheriff Nanos. If somebody's always fighting against you all the time, making your job more difficult, the thing is to establish who's right. I know that when I was working there at that shop, I was doing my job properly, and it was them that didn't like me doing my job properly, because the manager they had before was just doing what the hell he wanted, and that's why he got sacked. So, I don't know what the case is here. Is it Sheriff Nanos just throwing his weight about and his ego about? Or, is it genuinely because people were clashing against him and he felt that they were jeopardizing the department? It seems like he's had a real clean sweep of people, though. But I think the vote of confidence, just one person voting against it, does say a lot, to be honest.
The experience and expertise that was there was transferred out for whatever reason, and there are real impacts to that, and it lowered morale, and so there was a lot of hope that in the election in 2024 that we would have a change at leadership. And when that didn't come to pass, very close, but when it didn't come to pass, that's when we started seeing these mass exodus of deputies and detectives.
How close was it?
471 votes.
So he lost by 400. He won by 471 votes.
Yeah, 471, 481, less than 500.
Okay.
It was so close it had to have a mandatory recall per the Arizona state law.
And you mentioned the transfers, and you said it was like discipline by transfer. Is that what happened to you?
Oh, so when I became.
So that's interesting. So he only won by 500 votes or something, didn't he? Or less than 500 votes. So they had to have a recount. So he's a narrowly elected sheriff. I wonder because I think it's November, the new elections come up. It'd be interesting to see what happened then. I've got to say, if I lived in that area, I would not be happy with the way the sheriff, it doesn't seem to be reassuring anybody, because at the end of the day, if there is a masked man, at least one, if not more, that went into that house. He released the video of them going into that house. So God, you'd be terrified if you live round about, because they've not been apprehended, have they? So where's his reassurance? He's not doing any press conferences, so he's not reassuring the public at all. So maybe in November or whenever the elections are, maybe that's when he'll see, you know, that he has done it all wrong. I mean, it just feels like he's done it wrong. You know, I'm normally supportive of law enforcement. I think they've got a very difficult job, and especially nowadays, and they are under the attention of, you know, the world's media because of the internet and social media, etc. So they've got a difficult job to do, but you know, some deal with it well, don't they? You know, we've done enough cases, looked at enough cases to see when sheriffs do come out and do press conferences and, you know, say, even if it's just to say they've got nothing to say, but just to reassure people. This sheriff, I don't know. And what he says is, he says, well, I can't be you know, all the time being interviewed by people. No, that's why you do a press conference. You only have to do one every couple of days. You don't have to be out there talking to the media every 5 minutes. Just one press conference every couple of days will do.
Decided, hey, let's take a morale poll. And so we did a morale poll. It came back pretty low, and it came back with some comments, and I thought that those comments would be beneficial to someone in a position of leadership. So I quietly compiled them on a professional letter and sent them to Sheriff Nanos, just put it in his basket, and he could have thrown it away. However, he took exception to that and responded by transferring me to a position to hurt my family. That was confirmed to me later by former Chief Deputy Castigar.
What do you mean to hurt your family?
So I was on midnights because I had small children and my wife worked during the day. They knew that. And about 7 months before, one of his chiefs threatened me to move me off midnights. And I explicitly reminded them that I'm on midnights for my family. But when I sent that letter, they responded by transferring me to a day shift so that I would not have that time with my children.
Yeah, so, you know, there is bad blood here, isn't there? So, you know, as I said, we have to be aware that this guy obviously doesn't like Sheriff Nanos, so he's not going to say good things about him. But I don't think he's lying with anything he says. You know, and so he's got a grudge against Sheriff Nanos, hasn't he? He moved his shifts so that, and it was inconvenient for his family. Because it meant that he couldn't alternate, you know, with his partner or his wife or whatever to look after the children. And he's put him on a desk job. So this is why people will be scared of speaking up against Sheriff Nanos, because Sheriff Nanos, he's the one at the moment with the power. You know, as long as he's sheriff, he's got the power.
And did you get transferred to like an office job at that time, or?
Yes, sir.
So what you don't even, how much experience do you have?
This will be my 26th year.
26 years.
I am the second most senior sergeant in the department.
But you're not out on the street?
No. He has me taking calls, phone reports. So if your garden hose gets stolen and you want to make a phone report, I'm handling those currently.
Does that?
God, I mean, you know, that does seem, so he's got 26 years. If this is true, if we take this as true, a man with 26 years experience put on a desk job where he's answering the phone if somebody has their garden hose stolen. It's probably him who's getting all the phone calls about the black gloves being found. You know, I mean, it does feel like it is vindictive, but, you know, as I say, this is his side of it. Sheriff Nanos isn't going to comment on it, is he?
That feel demeaning? I mean, with all the experience you have?
I'm the first and only sergeant in the history of our department ever working that position. It's normally reserved for injured deputies so they can still work while they're recovering from their injuries.
So I've covered, you know, I've interviewed unions before, like with a lot of different things. And sometimes, a lot of times the unions don't like the boss.
Yes, sir.
You know, or it's about pay.
Yes, sir.
So that's not uncommon, but is this different, do you think, than other places where, because the unions always seem to have some kind of issue. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I agree. And oftentimes you do hear of unions. They're always lobbying for increased pay. And certainly we lobby for that as well. But no.
Well, that is the job of a union, of course. The job of a union is to improve the conditions of the workers. That's what unions are all about. It's great that they've got a union. You know, unions are big in Spain. I'll tell you, you know, people, Spain's very proud of its union sort of heritage. And of course, they used to be more sort of powerful in the UK, but Mrs. Thatcher put paid to that, didn't she? But I tell you, if you've ever worked somewhere where there is no union, you've got nowhere to go if you've got grievances or whatever. So unions are a good thing, in my opinion, and that is what they are there for, to improve the pay conditions, just the general thing for their workers. That's what they're there for. That's what a union's job is. So that's not a bad thing, is it? You know, but yeah, sometimes union representatives can get out of hand. I mean, that does happen. You know, if they, that's what happened with Arthur Scargill, really, wasn't it? That was the probably in the UK. This was for anyone, probably not everybody will know. But then when Mrs. Thatcher started a crusade against the unions, Arthur Scargill sort of played into her hands, I feel, by being the way. The problem you had there was you had two very forceful personalities who couldn't meet halfway. The miners' union, Arthur Scargill, I don't think he did his members any favours by being so aggressive. You know, the problem is when you've got two very aggressive people like that, Mrs. Thatcher and Scargill, you know, you're never going to meet halfway. It always takes somebody to give an inch, you know, so that you can make some sort of. So I don't know about this guy, whether he's one of those sort of union reps or is he I mean, he seems sensible and reasonable, but, you know, who knows?
No one came to the Pima County Sheriff's Department because they were going to get paid the most. However, you know, I have a theory that you can either pay your employees poorly or treat them poorly, but you can't do both and expect them to stick around. And that's where we're at. And our pushback against leadership inside this department, I believe, is a large reason why we've grown so quickly. Like I said, we started in 2023 from nothing, and we're already now representing nearly the entire commission side of the department.
The other
So that's interesting. He's been the union rep since 2023. And, you know, we used to have a saying in the betting shops and things that I've worked out there. It was, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And, you know, it's true. If you want decent staff in any walk of life, but particularly in the police department, because, you know, this is not a job. This is a difficult job. You know, it's like you go to work not knowing if you're going to get shot or what's going to happen, you know, and sort of part of that, I think people go into there's different reasons why people go into the police, isn't it? And like he says, I don't think anyone goes in it for the money. It's not brilliant money, is it? Unless you advance up the career ladder. But some people do have like a power trip. Some people go into the police not for good reasons, I think. And then there's other people go into the police and they genuinely want to help people. You know, it's a job with a pension, and that, you know, there's all those reasons as well. So although you do get bad apples in the police, like in any other walk of life, there's a lot of people out there in law enforcement going to work every day, trying to help people, doing the best they can. And a lot of them are not getting paid brilliantly. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, so the unions are good. They're there for a reason, improve their conditions, because if you want good law enforcement, you have to make it worth people going into it. You know, why should someone stay in law enforcement or in that particular sheriff's office if they can go to another sheriff's, you know, transfer somewhere else where they've got better paying conditions? You know, that is what the union's job is, isn't it?
The thing I've found covering sheriff's offices around the country is, you know, sheriffs have a lot of power. I mean, they're elected.
Certainly.
So sometimes, or many times, the deputies love the sheriff. It's like the opposite of what you're saying.
Yes.
And even though maybe they don't get paid as much as they should or as much as they want, like the sheriffs have their back.
Yes.
And it's different than working for a police department where there's a city council and they almost, you know, the sheriff protects them.
Yes, sir.
But I guess that's not the case here.
No, and it's pretty unusual.
But it is around here, right? I mean, I've interviewed some other sheriffs. It seems like other sheriffs are really liked.
Yes, sir. And the counties that are next to us,
Yeah, I do think, thinking of cases that I've covered where the sheriff's got involved, none of their department has ever come out against them and complained about them. We've dealt with a lot of cases where the sheriff has been giving press conferences and this, that, and the other. And the sheriff, I always think that they'll be a popular person because they're elected a lot of the time. And, so he's saying that in the general area, this sheriff is different by the sound of it, isn't it?
Their sheriffs are very popular. Pinal County is a great example. They're directly to our north, and their deputies adore their sheriff, from my understanding. Ours is different because of how he runs the department and the retaliation that they do to the deputies that speak up or even perceived to be against Nanos, or even he heard them say something against him. Because of that, we had a couple dozen of them protest with me against the sheriff during the last race. And I am unaware of any other instance where deputies protested against their sheriff for an election race. But it happened last time. But it wasn't without risk and fear. A lot of those guys did it while wearing masks, just to protect themselves from retaliation.
Yeah, that's unusual, huh?
It is. The situation inside this department, I would describe as is very unusual.
So the whole world is watching now because of Nancy Guthrie. I mean, do you think all of these issues that you've just...
Oh, you'd be loving it, this guy. The whole world is watching now. And you saw him smile then. He's thinking everyone's going to see this this twonk for exactly what he is. he, and it's good. Yeah, the eyes of the world are on Sheriff Nanos. And what he does will shape his future, and so far what he's doing is not good, is it?
Described have had an impact?
Sorry, because the thing is, we already thought this about Sheriff Nanos. Before this guy has come out and said this, we all had our opinions already. Our opinions about Sheriff Nanos are about the way he's dealt with this case. He's just coming on and confirming it. It wasn't because of watching him talking that I developed my opinion about Sheriff Nanos. I've had the opinion from about day 3.
On the investigation?
100%. 100%. The experience level inside our CID, like I said, they're hardworking people, but everybody needs mentors. And, I cannot imagine starting as a new deputy or when I was in as a detective and not having mentors to help me out. You need that. They make you better. And when you have questions or when you have a high profile case, they're the ones that you want to go to. But from what I understand and what I'm being told, there's not a lot of that right now. Like I said, we're a...
So it sounds to me that Sheriff Nanos, he doesn't take the valuable experience even from the FBI, never mind from this guy said he was a detective. He doesn't take advice from anybody. The thing is, when you're in a position where you're dealing with something like this, sometimes you have to respect that people, even though you might on a personal level not get on well with them, and maybe you don't like them and they don't like you, doesn't mean to say they haven't got anything to contribute if they've got the experience. You have to put personal feelings aside. I remember a boss I used to work with years ago. He always used to say, we don't have personalities at work. And it was true, because he would just say, we come to work, we do our job. It's not about your personality, who you like, who you don't like, a gossiping in the corner about someone else. It's not about that. When you're at work, and we don't have personalities at work. And it stuck with me what he said, because sometimes you have to rise above your personal feelings towards someone, because that doesn't mean to say they're not valuable in the job you're doing, or they can't contribute, or they haven't got good advice to offer, just because, they might not be your best friend. You might not want to go out drinking with them, or go, you don't want to marry them. But that doesn't mean to say they haven't got anything to offer. Everybody can, especially if someone's got 26 years experience like this guy, he's got a lot of advice he could offer.
Very young department. 45% of our commissioned deputies and detectives have less than 5 years on. We're very young because of this turnover. And it's having a real impact. And when we need that expertise, that they're simply not there. So I believe it is having an impact.
Couldn't the sheriff have said in the beginning, look, this is a complicated case, even the ever seen this? Couldn't he have said, we're going to hand this over to the FBI because like this needs another level of expertise? I don't think that would have made him look bad. No, I think they could have still helped and assisted and been a part of it.
I agree. I think the right decision, and there's also different aspects of this as well. By deciding early to turn this over to the FBI and us take a supportive role to them, I think it would have been the best decision, in my opinion, for the Guthrie family, but also for our detectives and Pima County citizens. Like, from what I understand, the entirety of CID is being tasked with helping on this case. All of them. They still have other cases that aren't being worked as well as they could be. And the bad guys aren't giving us a break because we're working this case, hoping to find Nancy. The calls and the crimes are still coming in. They're still happening. So these cases are getting put on the back burner from what they otherwise would be if this was turned over to the FBI, who could use their massive assets, then go back to a normal order of business to some extent and work some of these other cases that are happening in Pima County.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything else I'm leaving out that you think is important that people should know? I mean, because again, you're in a unique role where you can speak.
Right.
And we have a hard time, getting information out.
Yes.
Because people will get in trouble.
Yes, and that fear is real. The fear is very real because they know what would happen. Again, I just want to reiterate that our detectives, they are busting their butt to try and solve this case and find Nancy and try and bring her home, hopefully safe to her family. Putting in tons of hours and burning the candle at both ends. And so I just really like to thank them for all their hard work.
Just what he's saying there, that's what the sheriff should be saying. Has the sheriff even come out and said that? Like, you're listening to him talking there. Want to thank it's not his job to thank everybody. Well, he's the union rep, I suppose, but give them some appreciation. And this sheriff, because he's not taken the FBI's help, the more pressure is on this department. And as he says, there are other crimes going on, that might seem sort of insignificant in comparison to a woman being snatched from her bed in the middle of the night. But they're important to the people that they're affecting. Somebody's car's been stolen, or somebody else has been broken into or attacked, or, these are still important cases. But because this Sheriff Nanos is ego, he won't take the help from the FBI. So this department is dealing with probably the biggest case they've ever had to deal with and will ever have to deal with. And then trying to deal with all the other things, just your normal crime, if you like, that's going on at the same time, And he's saying this. He just hearing what he was just saying there, and as he's finishing off, this is what the sheriff should be saying.
Everybody, that please don't hold us accountable for some of the decisions made by our leaders. We're trying.
Great, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate Sergeant Cross for.
Don't hold us accountable by the decisions made by our leaders. Some of our leaders. Goodness me. So go over and give Brian Enton a sub if you're not subbed to him already. He does come out with some very interesting videos, not only about this case, but this is the case that he's concentrating on at the moment, as we all are. He's dealt with other cases as well. He's always there, sort of, and he does videos for News Nation as well. So thank you, Brian, for that interview. So he does tend to get really good interviews. I like watching the interviews he does he always finds an expert or somebody who is connected to talk to. So thank you for that. So there you go. So just a summary of what we've talked about today. Basically, the FBI have said 16 gloves were found, black gloves, some of which were probably left by their own searchers. Good God. Anyway, only one. They're going to enter into the CODIS database. The DNA from one of the gloves that they think is something connected with the case. So that's a good thing, because sooner or later that did take a little while, but the DNA will come back, and even if they're not on the CODIS database, they've got some DNA to, when they make a proper arrest, they've got some DNA to check. What else was it come up? So, oh yeah, Brian did say earlier in that video, he wonders if there is more camera footage from another camera, because we've been shown some CCTV footage, haven't we, from Nancy's home, but it's widely thought that there might be more. There's got to be footage of Nancy being taken out of the house, surely. If you could see that guy coming into the house, surely there must be footage of Nancy being taken out of the house. Anyway, what else? What else? Has DNA profile? Yeah, do they have more video? I think that's all I really want to say. Oh yeah, Savannah has made a new appeal. We watched that video. It's earlier on in the video. If you missed that, if you go back to the beginning of this video, that was more or less the first thing we talked about. Savannah Guthrie alone has made an appeal, and she's really concentrated. She looked, like she'd been up crying all night. She sounds exhausted, and she was just saying, we believe in the goodness of human nature. It's never too late to do the right thing. That we still have hope, we still believe. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but she sounded a little bit defeated to me. But anyway, so yeah, that's where we are. It's still going on. Any developments, I will let you know. But I think generally, he's not Sheriff Nanos. He's not popular. That's what we can gather from that interview with the union rep. But we have to remember that obviously it was obvious that he hasn't got any time for Sheriff Nanos. So he's just giving his opinion. So whether it's true, I don't know if it's true or not. So we have to keep that in mind. It's his opinion about Sheriff Nanos. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but it's just really confirmed what we all think, what we've seen. I don't think Sheriff Nanos has done anything, in my opinion, over these couple of weeks that has made me want to respect him. I was looking for it in the beginning. You're looking for a sheriff to be reassuring, and that's never really happened, has it? And now it's been almost 2 weeks since he's even given a press conference. So what's that about? Anyway. So that's it. I am off to get some breakfast. It's morning time in Spain at the moment. I hope you all have a brilliant day or evening or night, depending on what time it is where you are. Thank you so much for caring about Nancy. We just want to feel that she's still with us, alive, and that she will be reunited with her family. That's all we can hope for. But it doesn't feel positive. But anyway, we've got to. Savannah's, at the end of the day, it's her mum, and she said we still believe, and let's hope that's true, and let's hope these appeals that she's making strike a chord somewhere. People are basically good. There are nasty people in the world, of course there are. But I believe in basically the goodness of human nature. I don't feel like somebody would deliberately set out to kill an 84-year-old woman. I mean, why? Why would they? But of course there are nasty people out there. So we just have to wait and see. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, please, and press notifications. And if you, what's the word? Hi, Joanne. If you, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Yeah, remember to look after yourself because you are the most important person. And yeah, until I see you again in the next video, we just hope for good news. May your God go with you. Thank you. Bye. Oh, I forgot to say hello to lovely lurkers and also replay crew. I keep forgetting to say hello. Hello and goodbye.